Welcome to the Nobody Knowz podcast with Callie Zamzo. Join us for conversations with local changemakers and hear the stories that don't always get told. It'll be honest, messy and beautiful, touching and humorous. Slow down, pour a glass, and pull up a chair. This is the Nobody Knowz podcast.
Welcome to Nobody Knowz. I'm your host, Callie Zamzo. Jumping right into the tip of the week from Zamzo's. This is a really kind of baseline tip, but we hear people come into the stores all the time a little bit confused about it. So I thought I would just have a fun little conversation about annuals versus perennials. So I know there's a lot of different, I was looking up mnemonics and things that you can remember. The thing that I think has helped me over the years, remember that an annual, you're going to have to buy annually. So an annual is not going to live past the season. And I should clarify this by saying an annual is an annual based on where you're planting it, i.e. where in the country or where in the world you're planting it. Because an annual could be a perennial in other places of the world where it stays and comes back year. I know. Wild, right, Jody? So this is just, we're really talking about the Treasure Valley. So annuals, you'll need to buy them every year. Generally speaking, our annuals are going to be brightly colored blooms of things that you'll want to deadhead because they'll kind of bloom throughout the season, and they're the kind of the wow factor in our gardens. Perennials are, and I was trying to think of like P words. So perennials, perpetual, although you can kill perennials. I've done it myself. But perennials are plants that come back year after year after year. So obviously your bushes and whatnot are perennials, but there are also perennials that die back, like where they are above the earth. They die back and then they come back the next year, come back up again. Perennials usually take a little bit of time to fill in. So you might, when you very first plant them, they might be pretty small, and then you might fill in with annuals around them to fill in the space. And then over time, you will not need to do that because the perennial will take up the space. So with perennials, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the little tag that says how big they get. So I've made this mistake, and I see it all the time. People plant perennials too close together, and then they overcrowd, and then you're ending up having to pull them out anyway, and you've wasted your money. So if you can be patient, plant your perennials as kind of your mainstays in your garden, and then you can use annuals to do a pop of color and to help fill in until they grow up. So there you go. There's your little annual perennial. By the way, Zamzo's has both in stock right now. It's a wonderful time of year to plant both of them. And so come on into any of our 12 stores and we'll happily help you with that. And you can come in and say, I don't know the difference between an annual and a perennial, and we'll still help you because that's the kind of people we are. All right, this is a fun podcast. Number one, I always enjoy podcasts where there are two people, and having a husband and wife is particularly fun. So I'm looking forward to this, and these are friends of mine, so I'm excited about this. Today we're talking with Tammy and Jan de Weerd, and so Tammy, you're going to know this. She was served as mayor for Meridian for 16 years, and she helped guide one of the fastest growing cities in the state. So incredible time that I got to be a little part of that, which was awesome. And Jan was the VP of Ag Services and Strategy at Lamb Weston, had a full, robust career with them as well. Together, they are now co-authors of a book called When We Could Not See the Moon, which I'm very excited about talking about that. I did read the book, and that's an amazing story. And then they're also the creators of Spoken Wines, which is a storytelling platform centered around people, place, and culture. So welcome to the studio, both of you.
Thank you, Callie. It's great being here.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive into my long list of questions, would you each like to take a moment just to give a quick little, like, who you are? And you can do it in however you'd like, whatever part of your life you'd like to share.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm used to wearing many hats. So, but I'm fourth generation Idahoan, and I love Idaho, but we also love to experience the world and better understand the people and places around us. And so I'm a mom and a grandma, and because my kids married spouses with kids, I'm also a great grandma.
Oh,
wow. My gosh. So
that's amazing.
World adventure. And I get to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get to hang out with her. And that's generally how I introduce myself, because my identity is through the mirror. I just say, I'm married to the mirror.
I'm not the mayor.
You'll always be the mayor to some of us.
I'm looking to my left right now because I know she gets always a little bit irritated when I say that. So I'm originally from the Netherlands. And yes, it's not Jan there. They say it in a different way. But just before we walked in here, we already said no. After we tried for some time on how it's pronounced over there, we just settled at Jan. Jan is still better than Luke, right?
Well, say it the way it's supposed to be said, because I think
Weerd.
It's poetic and beautiful. I love that.
Wow, wonderful.
I would love to be able to have that roll off my tongue.
Yeah, me too. Never have. He's always been Jan to me.
And anybody with an accent.
And then we tried to practice it for 15 minutes, and then people got really, kind of desperate, and somebody said, "Okay, forget about Jan de Weerd, and can I just call you Luke?" What? Why Luke? So we settled at Jan. I'm from the Netherlands, grew up on the farm there, actually. So I'm really into this growing stuff, and I love the introduction about the annuals and perennials.
Me too.
Grew up on the potato farm. So when I get to Idaho, and people, when they see me, they have no questions. But as soon as I start talking, they hear a little bit of an accent, and
not a little bit.
And
it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite things.
And so then they just, it doesn't matter. I have to be aware of that too, because I might be saying something very important and critical at that time, and I know they don't hear it because they're puzzled by, where does this dude come from? He sounds different.
So our response is North Meridian.
Yeah, where we kind of stay to ourselves. We don't go out much, and so, and then I said, but and then they asked, well, what brought you to Idaho? And I said, okay, you have one chance to guess, and it's one word, but think about it. Idaho, potatoes. And they got it right, because potatoes is a little bit my red line through life. I grew up on the farm. I studied potatoes. I studied the agronomy of potatoes. I studied the science of it, but also the business aspect. If you grow up in the farm, it's important that you know the technical aspects. When you're a farmer, you got to know science. You got to know the technology behind it. But at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line, because you want to build a sustainable business. So you also need to know the business aspect. Yeah. And that's really been me through life. And then my last 14 years of my permanently employed career was with Lamb Weston, where I guided the company on their global agricultural strategy, because you can't make French fries without buying potatoes, right? And you need to grow them first. And you need to grow them well.
I mean, really good French fries come from potatoes, generally speaking. There's so many stories here that I want to get out, but I would like to start, Tammy, with you. Just the 16 years as mayor, and not a forgettable mayor, a mayor that did a lot. I mean, you did a lot for the city of Meridian during your time there. Really made an impact. Can you tell us a little bit about that period of time in your life?
It was defining, not just for the community, but for me too, and probably for our family as well. But, as I look at Meridian, and you mentioned, the tremendous growth. It wasn't growth for growth's sake. It was really trying to build a community that was a safe place, that was a place where families thrived, and my ultimate goal was a place that people love to call home.
Yeah. There were a lot of changes, and I don't say that in a bad way. I think sometimes we get afraid of change, but there were a lot of changes under your tenure. And I'm curious how you navigated that during that period of time, because that would be very difficult. You were juggling a lot.
I love change. And so change for me was about growth personally, and how we could stretch ourselves. So it changed, but what I always appreciated is it changed for good. You know, where you depended on other communities to really go and get your services and your job and your recreation. We developed into a community that was self-sufficient. It was full service. So you could get your shopping and you could play in our beautiful parks with your family, and you could have these family experiences all within a manageable distance and all within Meridian.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it. We would talk about projects and then we would see them develop. And today I can see how they have filled in. And it's really rewarding to know that you were a part of developing something really special.
Yeah. I feel like with the help of other people who were on the Meridian Development Corp, the Urban Renewal District Board at the time, who welcomed me in and asked me to be a part of all that. I was so green to all of that. And so I just want to take a quick moment to thank you personally for being a female leader that helped shape the kind of leader that I am today. And the number one thing that I loved about you was how authentic you always led. And you would bravely speak up about things. And sometimes I'd be like, whoop, Mayor's saying something, and it would make me my palms would get a little sweaty. But I loved the fact that it was always you. You didn't ever put on a front. It wasn't like when things got difficult, you were a different person than on the days when we were all laughing and it was easier. And I watched that very carefully as a young leader, just saying, oh, so she gets to be exactly who she is, and people respect her, and she's thoughtful, and she's doing things, and it gave me the courage to kind of figure out how to do that myself. So thank you,
Callie. That's very kind of you. I think it was really important to be always who you were. Then you didn't have to, my memory sometimes sucks. And then you don't have to remember who you thought you were projecting yourself as. I just was who I was. And I was kept grounded by my family and close friends, because I wanted to get up in the morning and look in the mirror and not wonder who I was seeing today. So yeah, I was who I was, and authenticity was important to me, and that I didn't pull surprises. I didn't like surprises. And I didn't want to surprise others on wondering what I was thinking, so I'll just tell them.
Yeah, I always appreciated that.
You also need to be, comfortable with who you are, right?
Yes.
And you need to love who you are with everything that comes with it. It's very important. And if you are comfortable with yourself, you can be vulnerable.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And it is okay that you don't know everything. And it is also okay when you make a mistake or you screw up on something, you recognize it, everybody does it, and then you go on from that, because nobody's infallible. Yeah. And once you get comfortable with that, you can be yourself.
Yeah.
And that was important, to show that vulnerability, be authentic, and courageous. And I've always recognized that in you as well, that it's important to be who you are and stay true to your principles and values, and know that you are not perfect. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, is as people would come to you, because usually I was a last point of hope to some people, and they just wanted to be respected. They wanted to be heard. And although I couldn't always give them the answer that they wanted, I hope that they left knowing that I heard them, I understood, and knowing why I couldn't give them the answer they wanted.
Yeah. It's great leadership. Really beautiful. And so 16 years, I think we all thought Tammy's just going to be there forever. And I think we kind of hoped that was the case. Although we have great leadership now as well. I'm curious about how that transition went when you decided that you were going to step down and into something else. What happened there? And how did that feel?
Well, I never really thought I would be mayor for 16 years. But there was always that project that you wanted to finish. There was always that next thing that you were really excited about. And there was always a hope that you could turn the baton over to someone that would take it and have the same priorities on our families and on our youth and on connectivity and all of those things that we felt. And this wasn't me. This was me working with our community to develop Meridian to what it was. And I was getting ready to run again. And then my dad died. I don't know why I just got so emotional. Maybe it just brought me back. But my dad died, and I realized that I was giving up a lot of my time with family. Yeah. And I had just more limited time with my mom, and I wanted to reconnect with my kids and my grandkids, and it was time to make my family the priority. So when I stepped out of office, it was a clean break. It was kind of incredible because I love Meridian, and I was very passionate about everything I did. But when I stepped out, it was someone else's turn, and I left it in good hands. I had my same city family and team that was there, and I knew that it would be taken care of, and now my focus was on my family, on my husband, and on that next chapter. And, I went to Argentina right after 5 days later. And when I came back for an MDC meeting, and I drove up to City Hall, and I parked in visitor parking, and I walked up to the building, and I did not think I had to go up to the third floor. I went to the meeting, and then I went home. And it was pretty incredible because I was a little bit nervous how I'd feel, and it was like liberating.
I love hearing that. Because you deserve it. You deserve it for the work that you put in to be able to now start a totally different chapter, several chapters, and you just seem to be thriving, still totally thriving, which is also it's also inspiring.
A lot of people ask what I miss, and really, I missed my city family. Yeah, the employees were really important to me, and we all grew up together. And I miss the community that I got to work with.
Did I ever tell you how we first met?
No, I don't think so.
You were preparing to be mayor, and you were at Toastmasters. And I happened to be one of the people at the Toastmasters. I didn't end up staying with that particular group, so I was only there one time. And but yes, you were, and you didn't announce it to us that that's what you're preparing for. I was like, oh, that's that woman, and she's now mayor. Like we did Toastmasters together. Yeah, but it was like literally one time. So anyway, I don't even know if I introduced myself to you because I didn't. Yeah, I just remember the situation.
Now that you say that, I think I kind of remember that.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
So obviously you retire, and then you opened several chapters. Speaking of chapters, can we talk about the book? Is that a cool next thing to talk about? Yeah. What an incredible story. I don't even really know how to kind of sum it up in my mind, how great that story is. Really emotional, but almost like, how in the heck did this actually happen? And it's a true story. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
The title is When We Could Not See the Moon. And the story behind the When We Could Not See the Moon is we always connected with our daughter, regardless of where she was in the world. We were looking at the same moon. And it was really symbolic during this time as we knew she could not see the moon. Just kind of like we cannot see God, but you know he's there. Yeah. She knew the moon was there. It was still connecting. And we just equated it to that is exactly what our faith is all about. is it's there when we need it. We cannot always see it, but we know it's there, and it gives us hope.
I love that connection with the moon. My daughter and I do that as well. Like if we're feeling particularly lonesome for one another, it's, look into the sky tonight. We're both looking at the same moon.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But I love the fact, because you're right, you can't always see the moon. So, but it is always there. And so it's a wonderful analogy of faith for sure.
Yes.
It was during COVID. I mean, what Tammy just retired just a month before they shut everything down, and she was still really thankful for that.
Yeah,
that she could
that's pretty darn good timing.
God's timing is perfect.
And our daughters had at that time already left the house, and they were in Europe studying, and our oldest daughter was already working at the time in London for a startup. And when COVID came, that startup business went under very quickly. And so she actually then came home. She hadn't been home really to live with us for many years because she studied in Europe and was working there. She came home because she actually got a job right here in Meridian, where she could do her marketing and e-commerce type expertise, which she has. And so she came home. Through 2020, we lived together as a family. It was wonderful.
And we loved it. We were outside. We were so active and so connected.
Yeah.
And she challenges us all the time. She challenges us to do things we would never thought of normally. But after a year, she got restless again. And in the meantime, she also had further fine-tuned and sharpened her skills in e-commerce, and she started her own business that she could basically help other business to help, how to interact, how to make your website more effective and improve conversion. That's her expertise. And so she at that time basically said, you know what? I can do this anywhere in the world. As long as I have a powerful MacBook and good Wi-Fi connection, I can do it anywhere. And so she decided to become this, what referred to digital nomad. And the first place where she really wanted to go, she had been there before because she had, when she was in London at one time, a boyfriend who originally was from Egypt, and he had taken her back there, and she kind of fell in love with the culture of that country, but especially with the Red Sea. She's an avid scuba diver. And so she really wanted to go there. There was kind of a center there with people from all around the world. See these digital nomads, they live in these communities where all these people live, and so you can lean on each other, and that's where she wanted to go. And the way we communicate is through WhatsApp. That's that text service that you can use anywhere in the world. And so with all of her travel also that she already did before that and all that, we always stay in touch. And, when she takes off, when she lands. And so here, very excited. She was at Schiphol in Amsterdam, because before she started her journey, she went back to some of her friends in the Netherlands before she was taken off. And she said, I'm so excited. My journey is starting. And then radio silence. She was supposed to text back in 12 hours that she landed safely, because you can imagine we were a little bit nervous of her going to a developing country, Muslim country, as a Western blonde-haired girl by herself.
Yeah, I have a daughter who's in New York City, and that freaks me out. I can't even imagine what you guys were dealing with there.
But she's a strong woman. She knows the world, and we of course try to coach and support her as good as we can, and that's all you can do.
So our story really started in crisis. When our daughter was unjustly detained in Egypt, and it really threw us into a nightmare that we never really imagined. But what that terror became is hope, and it really broadened into really tapping into our faith and pausing and listening and acting on what we were what we were told, and then leaning into our community as well. And, you know, so what turns into a story that is a parent's worst nightmare actually became one that we felt we had to share this story that could give other people hope in time of darkness, and maybe strength to know that, yes, you have to lean into your faith, but you also have to really pause and be humble enough to ask for help. Because as I learned, whether it was as mayor or during our own personal crisis, is when you ask people want to help. They just don't know when they need to be helping and what kind of help you need. Yeah. But it was a whole different journey than that original stop in your tracks. What are we going to do type of paralyzing.
Yeah.
But turned into something that really became different than we could have imagined.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we were people of faith, but it was very private to us, you know, and we were familiar with it. And when we went through this unknown, for days we hadn't heard at all, and we didn't even know if she was still alive.
Yeah.
And then finally things started to come, but it was a very scary, risky, unknown thing that as parents you can only imagine how you get around that. But tapping into this faith, and faith became real. It wasn't an abstract thinking. It became so real, and it stopped us from sliding. It stopped us from sinking into this sinkhole, and indeed it gave us hope. And there's a moment in the book that I experienced. It was so real that God was talking to me. And not that I heard some thunderous voice. I describe in the book how that went. And I experienced it. I've heard so many times people talking about stuff like that, and when they kind of go that way, I tend to kind of like roll my eyes and, okay, there somebody goes again, totally emotionally out of sync. And then it happened to me. And it was so real that when this happened, when we were in the middle of it, I said, Tammy, no matter what will happen, we owe it to God. We need to write about this. We need to share this with people, because there is something so powerful here that other people need to hear about. They need to hear about our experience, that go through their own crisis like this, and that there is something that is beyond our 3 or 4 dimensions that we can understand. There's something bigger there that you can tap into, and that gives you strength and hope. And we need to share our experience. It's a real story. It was super real, and that was the reason we wrote the book.
I mean, we were connected with people that we didn't know. I mean, people came up in extraordinary ways, and you know, that just gives you hope, and it gives you light, and it gives you the strength that you need to do the things.
Because if you have that hope, your mind is clear and fresh, and we came up with solutions. We heard, we everything that opened up, you know, we took and we saw to act upon, right? In full amount, and that we were able to do that. And then how God did His work through other people. That's how he did His miracle. Doors were opened up that you kind of wonder, how did that ever happen? And then the things, well, you read the book, what happened in that jail, in that dungeon where she was held, you know, with no daylight, no nothing, no idea what what time of the day it was, but what happened in that even was also miraculous in a way. And we were able to write about that because our daughter kept a diary just to keep her own sanity. Whatever scrap of paper she could find, she wrote on. And so that part of the book was filled in by her. And then, otherwise how the book was written was basically chapter by chapter. We write by day, because that's how you got through the day, from Tammy's perspective, from my perspective, and then what happened on the other side of the world from her perspective, what happened at that day.
It's extraordinary. It is a wonderful read on so many levels. It's just straight up a good read. Like, if you just like a good book, it's a great book, because the storyline is just, and the fact that it's true is just sometimes unfathomable. But it's also, I love the way that you have woven in your faith with all of it. I remember the part in the book where you had the moment, and as a reader, I'm like, everything's going to be okay. And at that point in the book, you don't know everything's going to be okay, but I knew it because of that moment. And so, yeah, it's well worth reading. If nothing else, if you're somebody who is less worldly than you two, I would be one of them. I can't even imagine the circumstances, and I just don't know enough about the world in general to understand this. That book absolutely helps paint a picture of understanding how very different other cultures are, and certainly other prisons are.
Well, and how much we take for granted here.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But also, though, that people are people, right?
Yeah.
I mean that, they look different, they sound different, they dress different, they maybe even smell different. But if you peel all those layers away, you see the same beautiful human being behind that.
Yeah.
And that is what we also experienced. And you know what? Guess what? People, doesn't matter where in the world, they want to do good.
All right, well, let's shift gears, because this isn't all you two have done since you, I was going to say graduated. I guess there is a little bit of graduation when you leave work and take on other things. So let's take on Spoken Wines and tell us about that. What was the thought process behind that, and what is it?
Oh boy, Spoken Wines was really born from our passion about wine. Jan and I both have very busy lives up until retirement, and we always used our time together to explore different wine regions. They're not only beautiful, but you meet the people behind it, and it just starts to break down barriers and walls, and it makes the world feel so small when you start meeting the people behind the craft. And as we were talking with our daughter, she said, well, you really should start a YouTube channel, Mom and Dad, about this. You can't just blog. Everyone does that. You need to do your storytelling through video. So now all of a sudden, Jan and I are retired, and he's becoming a YouTube expert, and I'm videoing, and we don't know what we're doing, but we're stretching ourselves and we're just having a great time. And it's so much more meaningful when you go and you taste the life in the glass, and you get to know the people and the history and the triumphs and toils behind that. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it goes to a deeper purpose, and it goes to our roots, basically. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up on a farm, and Tammy built this community here with so many other people, and we basically, the purpose here is to connect to the world. This happens everywhere in the world. And it's so visual when you go to a winery. It's generally a lot of times a small family operation. They've been working the land, that vineyard, sometimes for generations. And every year, everything is at stake, to get that vineyard to express in the way they envision. And then when they pour the wine they made from these grapes that were growing there, and every time somebody puts that glass to their lips, they basically get a job evaluation. Can you imagine? That kind of vulnerability.
Yeah, mine was every 4 years.
Yeah.
Theirs is every sip.
Every time, yeah. And there's so much richness behind that. So we tell that story by highlighting the people and then how they work with their site, their location, because that is so important in terms of the type of wine they can make, how they use that to express it into their wine, and then their belief system. I mean, are they doing it organically, or some of them biodynamically, or conventionally, sustainably? What are their approaches? How do they do the winemaking? Do they do it with high precision, or is it more of a natural touch? So when people then get the wine, it's not only that beautiful liquid in the glass, they can now connect to the people that made the wine and the whole story behind it. And guess what? When you have that, and we try to do that through our video, so it really becomes alive, that wine actually starts to taste different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wine is never just wine. It's so much more.
Yeah. And so we love it. We love to tell these stories. Every story is so totally different. We just, released the story that when we were in Argentina, and just to see how that family built this winery 3 generations back by just building first a community of workers around their winery. That was important. And then out of that, they grew the wine. And yeah, you can write about it, but you have to see the people telling that story and see the video of the place where they're doing it. And then it really becomes to speak.
Well, what was really cool is I write for a couple of local magazines. And there was a distributor, a big distributor in Florida that was reading these, and he contacted the publisher and said, "Hey, I'd like to invite your writer out and see Santa Julia, and you have to go there." And we just happened to say we were going to spend a couple months in Argentina, so let's go and check them out. And you had to be there. You had to see what Julia's grandfather started. His love was the vines, and his wife's love was the people, and how to support the people who worked in the vineyards and getting them education and making sure that they have childcare and teaching their spouses a craft or something that they can also make additional income from. And it was so heartwarming that now it was no longer just about their incredible wine that is very approachable and affordable, but now it's about this whole ecosystem, about how it wasn't just about them, it was about their people and their community and how they can lift them all up.
Yeah.
It's a microcosm of what the world could use some more of here right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we approached everything the way that you approach these wineries and vineyards, the world would be a different place.
Yeah. Well, and we kind of do hope that was our altruistic view, is we can maybe help break down barriers and take down walls and help make this world a smaller place by showing that people are the people. People are people the same wherever you are in the world. Yeah. We all care about our kids and a safe community and a good education and a future for our families. And that's true everywhere.
And wine is so symbolic for that too. It's just like, when people break bread together, when you start to drink a glass of wine, you stop actually preaching and you start asking questions about the person opposite from you. And that is the deeper purpose.
Yeah, so people have been connecting around a table for centuries. And this is just a further extension of that.
A craft that goes back 6,000 years. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I'm always amazed, and I think sometimes it gets ignored, how alive wine is. Yeah. And that it's evolving literally constantly. So that's why when people, I'm speaking to the choir here, you guys could speak to this much better than I can, but that's why certain wines wait to open them, because you want to give them a chance to, do their thing. Yeah. But it's interesting that humans, it's all kind of like a microcosm of everything all working together. But it's such a great thing. And you do this all over the world. Is there a particular a place that you've gone to that sticks out in your mind that was a particular unique story or a unique location or something like that?
We have so many stories.
I know, I can only imagine.
It's so local, huh? I mean, South Africa is stunningly beautiful, and they make just incredible wines. And we had a person there standing in the vineyard, and their theme is ancient soils, because where they planted those vines is actually a soil that has never been impacted by ice or volcanic activity or river. It basically just evolved since the earth was created.
Wow.
Millions and millions of years.
Recorded ancient.
Yeah.
I mean,
so just over time it weathers down, crumbles down, you know. And so they put their vines in there. And this person, you know, he just really radiated. We interviewed him very early on, and he just said, wine, he said, it's like life in a glass. And he said, and when I want people, when they take a sip of this wine, I want them to travel in their mind all the way to South Africa, to this vineyard, where I'm standing, and how we got these vines to take out of the soil with the struggle to give him the fruit that you're now drinking. You know, it's like, wow, that
I
is...
know. He was
so
like
cool.
our favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you ever go to these and then think, maybe we need to invest in this particular, like,
No,
do you have to
because that works. That would be work. No, and, you know, there was a time we didn't have spoken wines, and it was probably not even a thought yet. But we went to South Africa, and we had all these plans. We were going to go and put our stuff in our room, and then we were going to go find a couple of wineries and check them out. And this was an old winery that they had converted into an Airbnb. And so we put our stuff down, and we walked out onto the deck, and we looked at the view. And you saw vineyards and olive orchards and these big granite outcroppings. And then the host came with 2 glasses of wine, and Jan and I just went, okay, this is good enough. we're settling in, and we're going to just take in this view. And that is the wine world. These vineyards are stunning. The areas that we travel to show God's beauty in, I mean, times 100.
Yeah.
But it's you see gorgeous country. You see incredible heart-wrenching you hear heart-wrenching stories, and you see how people persevere, and you find their why. And now this wine, it was great, and now it is unforgettable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You paint such a wonderful picture. I love it. Love it. Love it. We're going to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Zamzows. Surprise, surprise.
We love Zamzows.
Well, thank you. Zamzows is your local source for garden, pet, and planet-friendly products. As a thank you to our Nobody Knowz listeners, use code SPOKEN at checkout on zamzows.com to receive 10% off your online order. The discount applies automatically and is valid online only and excludes lawn programs. It also runs through August 31st of 2026. You can buy online and pick up in store at any of our 12 Treasure Valley locations. Please visit zamzows.com and let's grow something good.
Nobody knows like Zamzows.
All right, we're going to shift gears now. This is the sharing is caring portion, kind of more rapid fire questions. Are you ready? I'll just throw them out there. So whoever would like to answer them, answer. And if you both have an answer, then by all means, just speak up. Okay, so here we go. How about a place in the Treasure Valley that feels meaningful or grounding to you?
See, I would choose Kleiner Park, because Kleiner Park is a $25 million donation from someone who doesn't even live in Idaho, but he wanted to honor his dad. And that
awesome.
Just grabs your heart. And when you see all the people out there enjoying it and really experiencing this generous gift, it's heartwarming.
I heard from somebody recently that the meandering paths was a design that comes from Central Park. Is that true, or do you know?
I don't recall that one.
Okay. Well, it's one of my favorite things because they are these wonderful paths that you
Well,
can...
then, yes.
Both parks are wonderful.
That wine is just like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you like a wine, you like a wine, and you don't need to explain or justify
Yeah,
it. And
that's
if you
true.
don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
so if
fair.
you like that meandering path, and if it somehow comes from Central Park, although I thought Central Park is as square as it can be.
Well, the park itself, it just
Yeah.
has the meandering,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Yeah,
through
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Probably it is.
Yeah, yeah. I said in one recent podcast that's where my husband's ashes, we've been asked to put his ashes. He's still alive.
I just met him in the wake of an He was very much alive.
Like I said in the last one, I'm hoping that Rafi's the one who has to do that and not me. Okay, let's move on to another question. How about a book, a podcast, or a story that has stayed with you recently?
I write for 2 magazines, and I just had interviewed Mindy Mayer at Cherry Hill Winery. She lost her family in a plane accident, and she was the only family member that survived.
Oh, gosh.
And she found her healing here in Idaho with raising Cherry Hill sheep and her dogs and her winery that she started as she started to heal. And that really stays with me, and her grit, her perseverance, her vision in honoring her granddaughter that she just released a wine to honor her. But, you know, her family, when you go through that kind of tremendous loss, it just kind of stays with you.
I can't
Yes, he
imagine.
came here to Idaho to train her Australian Shepherd in sheep herding. And there's a very well-known coach here, I guess, in Idaho. I can't remember who he was. And she kind of got stuck here and started a winery. And that's a whole other story that you just have to... we wrote on our website, we blog as well, so there's a nice blog about her, and we're going to release her story on video here in a couple months.
Will you just really, I think this is a good moment to do this. Will you tell us what the website, how to get to your website?
It's www.spokenwines.com. So spokenwinesplural.com.
Wonderful.
And on YouTube, it's the same name, Spoken Wines.
Yeah, and we blog, and all my articles that I write that are wine related are also listed on there too.
Nice. And then also a little bit off to the side, but as far as if people want to get their hands on your book, because now I know they want to read it, how would they do that?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. The easiest is actually to just go to our website, which is, it's a mouthful, whenwecouldsnotseethemoon.com. If you go there, there's an how to order button, and that gets you directly to Amazon or any of these other channels, and you can order it right there.
But really, whatever bookstore is your favorite, you can request it if they don't already have it.
Awesome.
It's our project to give back, and everything, all the proceeds are destined to be going to a nonprofit, and the nonprofit would be one that would help women that find themselves in situations like our daughter did.
And actually, we had someone that went to our website, sent us a message and said, I would love to order a book, but I'd like it signed. And so we just sent her one.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And we would love to go to books or book clubs and talk to book clubs. We would join them physically if they're here, or
Virtually.
if
Ooh.
they are
We've done
out
that a
of
few
the area.
times where
Yeah.
they grabbed our book and they made it their theme, and then we zoomed in, and we had a really, interesting, heartwarming, meaningful discussion with the club.
Yes.
Nice. I have a couple of book clubs. I may, you might be hearing from me.
Well, good. We hope so.
Awesome. That would be
and
so
I
cool.
also wrote a couple of guides that could guide conversations, and also kind of some takeaways if you have kids that travel and if you travel. So
I don't care about me. When my kid is traveling, then I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
This is, but you talk about the faith thing.
Yeah.
People ask me like, "How you doing, Mama?" And This time last year, if you'd have told me that I was going to be doing this well, I would have said there's no way. We're so close, and she's going to be going so far away. And it's been an amazing year of realizing that everything's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you spend all that time preparing them for that time, and then you launch them, and you see how they just gain wings and they start to navigate, and
It's awesome.
that's when you really think, okay, I can trust this.
Yeah. Being a parent is the greatest thing. I
And
love
faith
it.
is all about surrender too, huh?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And that's what you do with your daughter
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. I just I sometimes literally when I'm feeling particular, I'm like, open your hand, let it go. It's in somebody else's hands and much better hands. So just let it be.
Exactly.
Okay. How about something outside of work that's been bringing you joy lately? Work being, obviously spoken wines and everything else.
Okay, now I
get.
get to do this one because we travel a lot, and usually we travel in the spring. And this year I'm home, and I get to see all my flowers and bloom, and my yard come to life. And now we have to put our Thrive down. I wanted to say Save a Tree, but it's Thrive.
That's all the same. We know it is.
I mean, I love spring, and we love our yard, and I love seeing everything. Our forsythia bloomed for a month, and my tulips were so gorgeous until this pounding rain and stuff.
Exactly.
But I mean, just seeing our yard come to life, and all the things all the perennials that we lovingly planted in this horrible
worth it.
soil.
Yes,
that
it's
you
worth
have
it.
to amend. But anyway,
You know what I like about your backyard, your yard in general, is that you share it.
yes.
I've had many times that you have had various events that you have brought people into you're not afraid of sharing your space. And you've done that quite a few times, and just you're wonderful hosts. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We love to share.
Yeah. Yes, you do. I can tell. It's great. It's great to be a recipient. Okay. So now it is time. As we ask this of all of our guests, the same question. I'm going to ask it to both of you. I'd love to have, maybe you have a joint answer, or if you each have your own answer, I would love that as well. So here's the question. What is something that nobody knows? And there are no rules.
Okay. Well, I'll bring it then back to all these adventures and our lives that you heard about. But we haven't talked about or written about is that during one of our wine ventures in South Africa, we were actually held at gunpoint.
What?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so what happened there was there was a huge taxi strike going on, and they had blocked and burdened buses on the freeway. And this is maybe a good message again too, good old Google Maps, right, then anticipates all this and guides you off the freeway to go, get around it. And in this case, it guided us right into probably one of the most dangerous townships.
Gosh.
And as soon as I got off the off ramp, I knew it. It's like we shouldn't be here. And immediately we look at a way to how to get back on. And but I couldn't have us. Traffic all jammed up, and people walking because they all had to now walk home because the taxis weren't driving there. See, and there, the whole society, the working people there depend on these taxi buses. That's how they go from work, from the townships to work in the city and back. And so everybody was on foot. It was chaotic. And so we finally got a little bit further, and there was an intersection, and I told Tammy, okay, past that intersection, I'm just flip a U and get back up in there. And there was this one car was just right in front of us, and that car started to back up. And I was like, what is this guy going to do, And so I started to look back already. I couldn't back up because that car's behind me. And then he kept backing up, and then I started honking till he actually totally touched my car. So he wanted to lock me in. And then as soon as that happened, 4 guys came out on both sides, and one was on Tammy's side holding a gun right on our head, showing, hey, lower the window. And So
And I was thinking, do I look like a fool? I am not rolling down my window.
So what? And it's like, hey, the car right now is my protectant in a way, you know. I was thinking, I cannot, you know, I need to get out of here because I'm not gonna wait and see what he wants. I already knew, and so I was ready to back up. Fortunately, the car behind me had seen what happened. He gave me space, and I backed up, just keep the car moving because that would throw the guy off. But everything, by the way, this was a little bit like in slow motion, when you get in a lot of stress. But everything was super clear. But when I backed up, and you drive on the left side of the road, your steering wheel's on the right side in South Africa. It's just like in the English system. And while I backed up, my elbow hit the window button.
Oh, no.
And you know when that hit, the window doesn't go open a little bit, right?
No.
It goes all the way down.
So all of a sudden I had this other guy here leaning into my car, wanting to take the keys, wanted to disable the car, right? Fortunately, we had a keyless car. It was just a start button. My key was in my pocket. And so he was leaning in. And so I had to get that guy out of there.
It's like a 007 thing.
Yeah, so, but everything was very clear. I saw his face, and I saw he had some fear on me too. So I just kept pounding on his face to get him out of there. And finally he did, because I felt like, oh no, I hit his nose. I could feel like, okay, really. So he had to whir back, and so that allowed me then to go back on my gear to go forward again and get out of there. And in the meantime, see, because it was all kind of emotion, that person, you know, was still kind of with his gun standing there on Tammy, but then we got out of there, so we had to step away. And then there was this bang, you know, and Tammy said, "Oh, now he's shooting."
There was no glass shattering or anything.
You just had to get out of there. But this was a week before our daughter gave birth. Oh. And I have a few moments in my life with this divine intervention, this divine experience. It felt like that because we didn't panic. We had to get this guy out of the window. Everything was super clear. The details, I still vividly see it. And it felt a little bit like we were in a cocoon, in a protected bubble. Again, like, everything will be okay. You know, we just get you out of here. And yeah, then you can, of course, interpret it in any way you want. But we interpreted it, and later it had proven to be the case. We had to be there for her daughter when she gave birth. There was all kinds of stress things happening after that, and that we were there, it was meant to be. And by the way, that baby boy that she gave birth to was a gift from God. We knew that ahead of time already, and she will readily, everybody recognize, is such, and every birth is, but in this instance, it was such a beautiful, perfect gift that she needed at that time in her life. We had to be there to get through all of that, and it was not our time.
We knew it wasn't our time because we did read an article a couple days later that there were 5 deaths associated with this strike. And one of them was a surgeon that from England that whose GPS also sent him off into the same township, same intersection, 40 minutes after we were there, and he was shot in the head in front of his wife and his 2-year-old son. So, you know, it is more than a coincidence. We do feel that it was, that we were in this protection, and it just wasn't our time. Yep. Is that the longest answer you've had?
I don't know about longest, but this is the sweatiest my palms have been, maybe ever.
Yeah.
What a story. That's a fantastic Nobody Knowz. That's thank you for that. That will be sitting with him for a while.
You have to have your heart open, your eyes open, and you see miraculous things happen around you, and a lot of things all happen by other people who want to do good, you know,
like the guy who backed up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Are the guy actually that developed this incredible formula that we put on our Douglas fir that was about to die, and we poured it. We did it for 3 years, and you should see the tree right now.
That's Thrive, everybody.
And it's thriving now.
You guys are the best. Thank you for being on the show with me. Thank you for sharing these wonderful stories with our community. And thank you for everything that you're doing. You're making the world a better place. And I just love this chapter. It's fun to follow you, and it's fun to be a part of it. So
we all play a role, right?
Yes, this is true.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to following you and seeing what's coming up next.
Thank you for inviting us, and it was just a pleasure.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please follow the podcast and leave a review. Next week, we'll hear from another incredible voice shaping the Treasure Valley. And until then, thanks for listening.